What's up, everybody? Welcome to another summer edition of Morning Cup of Hockey presented by Bet365. Open an account with Bet365 today and bet on a huge range of markets. Whatever the sport, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. So use our code DAILY365. That's Colby, Cohen. I'm Jonny, Lazarus. We had a great episode today with Tony DeAngelo. We're not going to waste any time. We're going to bring Tony right on and get right into it. Tony, how's your summer been? You watched the Olympics? What the hell have you been up to?
No Olympics. My summer's been okay. Not as good as I was hoped so far, but it's all right. How about you guys?
You know what? I think just kind of getting through the summer. Life for me, as you know, is so different now with kid, with a young one and rooting back and forth between the beach. Obviously, you and I used to see each other down there quite a bit. So I've been doing more. I've been channeling my inner Tony D this summer, and I've been doing more hockey stuff with young kids. Like I just was back at the USA Atlantic District camps. Remember, we used to do those as kids at Lawrenceville. Well, they do them at Iceline and everywhere else now. They had me come in and talk with some of the kids the other day. And I've actually talked about this before, Tony, on our show. Anytime your name has come up, and we just talked about it with Brett Pesci an hour ago. Nobody in our area, and it's not even close, does more for kids and spends more time with kids at the rink than you do. I mean, it's not even close. And nobody ever wants to talk about that. And I think that people who really know you and really take the time to get to know you know that like there's nobody who gives back in this area, South Jersey, Philly. That includes Jonny Gaudreau, the Robinsons. They're all great guys, but nobody gives back the time that you give back. And I don't know. Is that something you just learn from other people? Like, what is it about being at the rink and giving your time back is so important to you?
Yeah, I mean, I started. I ran a camp. I don't know. It might have been 7 years ago now. I ran a camp, and then after the camp was done, the kids went off. People still had my email, and I wasn't really checking the email anymore because it was an email just based off of the camp. I wound up logging into it one day, and I had a couple emails there from parents asking to have the kids work with me again, privately or with a small group, whatever. So I was like, I'll give it a shot. I never really did it before besides, one camp. And, being on the ice with the kids, hour here, hour there, every couple of weeks, you really started to get to know the kids, like them, like the parents and the families, and spending a lot of time with them. Then it turned into, almost 3-4 days a week at one time, especially during COVID there, where I had forward group, defense group, defense group. And they really take care of me at Hollydale as far as providing me with ice times and slots. So I started to work with kids from all over the place, and you start to get close to them. You start to get close to the families, like I said, and now you fast forward 7 years, and some of these kids are playing on my Checking for Charity team like this weekend. Kids I consider friends now. They're becoming of age where you can hang out. Some of them just turned 20, 21. They're playing D1 college. You get to follow their careers almost as a friend, and I don't even consider myself a coach. I try to teach them as much as I can, but the way I talk to them and act with them, it's almost more like a buddy rather than a coach. So you watch it now. I mean, I got some kids that I think, I don't credit myself to any of it, but we got a couple kids at our rink that have skated with me and skated with other guys that I think could be first round picks coming in the next couple of years, NHL players and stuff. So to watch the evolution of them has been pretty cool, and I try to keep going with it. But, as I want to mention Tony Voch, as I'm sure you guys have on the show. He's a good friend of mine in the past, and he did a ton of stuff with the kids too. So, and even more so now, if I could take a little more that was on his plate and try to continue that, because he was a good influence with the kids. Kids loved him around the rink and stuff. So it's be a big loss for us.
And I can attest to the fact, because his partner Jeff comes out and works with the Warriors team, which is the disabled vets, and you and I obviously talk about that all the time. But he told me right away that you stepped right up. Anytime, now that there's a void to fill, you're like, I'll do it. I'll run it. Even though you're trying to get ready for a season wherever you're going to end up playing, but you're basically saying, I'll sacrifice, my hour to give it to all the college kids, the junior kids, because our area is starting to blow up. And other people have told me that. They're like, there are a group of kids from our area that are coming, and they've all spent a shitload of time on the ice with you. And so I think that, you'll never see that written in the papers. You'll never see that on Twitter. But anybody who lives in this area knows that to be the dead's honest truth. And you've just had such an impact on the young kids.
Yeah, I should have tried to become an agent right when I started this. See if I could follow these guys around now instead of myself.
Well, I did see that you're starting a male modeling career with your new clothing brand. What is it? State of
I
Mind collection?
definitely
Is that
can
the
be
hat you're
modeling.
wearing?
You can see how goofy I look anytime I wear anything. I'm not starting any modeling, but I am part of it. Just me, my brother, and two of my best friends started a little something, and we enjoy doing it. I'm just kind of helping out. They're all the brains behind it. Yeah, I appreciate that. Nice little graphic there. They're all the brains behind it, coming up with the designs, and we got a lot of different stuff. I'm not very technologically advanced, to be honest with you, so most of the stuff you'll see on social media and the website, all that comes from them. So they're doing a good job. We have a good time with it.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit. Yeah, I mean, I do like the hat. I see the stuff all over online. Like, what was the inspiration behind it? Was it something you wanted to do? Did they come to you? Like, I was obviously involved in something like that before. I have a passion for it. So, I'm just curious, kind of the backstory behind the whole thing.
We were talking last summer. The four of us were just sitting there, just BSing about stuff. We were like, we got to start something. We do it together. And my brother and my other buddy, his name's Lewis and Louie.
Lewis.
Yeah, they're big into the streetwear kind of stuff. Where I'm not as big into it. But now, as we've gotten going here, coming up with designs and like talking about it for the last year, and we just dropped stuff that we like, and we're more proud of the stuff we dropped in the second drop, and took a lot more time, graphic tees, hats, whatever the case may be. But it's just something that four guys, we talk all the time. We're always talking fantasy football, this, that, the other thing. So we're like, let's try to start a little business, see if we could do something out of it here. So we've taken a lot of time, done it. We're happy with it. It's how it is, though. It's a work in progress. It takes long.
It's hard, man.
My basement looks like a factory, and
shipping warehouse.
Yeah, exactly, shipping warehouse. I got tape, I got boxes, all kinds of stuff here. So it's a good time, no. But like I said, work in progress. So we got a long way to go.
Just giving people something to wear on a Friday night at Jenks in the Jersey Shore. I heard that's your spot.
That's what you heard it right. We're hoping to see some more State of Mind stuff at Jenks and Margate, wherever the shore points are. I feel like that's kind of what we were going for.
Yeah, well, look, we got to get you hooked up with Becky Seidenberg. She's got the store right in Margate offside, so we got to get State of Mind in there because they carry a lot of that lifestyle wear. So I'm sure
I'll take a discount too if you want to throw some shit my way.
I'll put this code in this private chat on the right side here.
Exactly. But listen, I think that it's great to have other things going on outside of hockey. I just think that it helps you check out at times. I was always trying to be involved in other things, even while I was still, playing and things were winding down for me. So I see you talking about this, and I know how tight you are with Louie, your brother. And I think it's awesome that you guys you guys do everything together. You kind of always have, right? So I think it's cool to see you guys getting involved with that type of thing.
Yeah. I mean, as you said too, it's like for a kind of season like I had this year where I wasn't playing as much, if you're on the road or whatever, and, you do your morning skate, you do your little bag skate after, or whatever you want to call it. And then you kind of have the whole day while, guys were preparing to play. There was times I wasn't playing. So this was a good option for me to work on this stuff and be on the phone and kind of take your mind off things a little bit. As far as that goes. So the timing actually worked out all right.
What was that like? I mean, that had to be a difficult situation for you this year because, you're watching a team where you look, anybody with eyes when you're on the ice sees. I mean, you'd be hard pressed to find 5 or 8 guys who are better offensively, right shot defense. So you're sitting there a lot, and we'd see each other throughout the season when I was in Chicago. That had to be tough for you, no?
Yeah, I mean, this was it was just a tough year as far as not playing. I mean, contrary to what a lot of people think, as you guys know, and the one big thing for me was to not be a distraction as far as anything goes. I was as frustrated as it comes. I'm sure the other 24 guys on the team knew it as far as the year goes, but I never made it I said my main thing was never going to make it a public thing. There was no public trade request. There was no public complaining to the media. And I said, it's not what I'm going to do. We got a good team, a team that could win the cup. And I said, obviously I would have liked to get moved and go somewhere and have played as the year progressed. And I seen that I wasn't, coming back in the lineup anytime soon. I think that's pretty normal for a guy at my stage there. But then at the same time, there was, there was an option or two at the deadline there where you're going to have to go somewhere and start and maybe in the minor leagues or what the case was. And I was like, you're one injury away from having a chance to help this team win the cup too. And you know how the playoffs are with injuries and unfortunately Pesh, Pesh went down in the playoffs there, and I got to come in and try to give it a shot to help. Obviously, we didn't get the job done, but I try to be a good teammate all year. But the days get long as far as the season goes. The playoffs is a much different feel. I feel like the playoffs did, my whole mind did a 180. Not even while I was in the lineup. Obviously, when you come in the lineup, your mind's going to do 180. But even at the start of the playoffs, it was just a different feel going to the game because you have an excitement that you still want to win, even though you weren't playing. Like, I'm watching the first game. I was, you're getting jacked up, and then obviously I wind up coming in and get even more jacked up. But games 1 through 82, when you're sitting there and stuff, it gets long. But you just got to. I'm 28, turned 29 now. There's no time to be a 22-year-old. Maybe if I was 22, I might have handled it a little bit differently. But I feel like at 28 now, I kind of know how to be a pro. I thought I'd try to do as good a job as I can with my personality.
I kind of got a two-parter to follow up on that because, I am a Ranger fan. I also do cover the team, so I was very close to that series. And, I'm sitting there. I didn't travel to Carolina for Game 6 because I was like, if they lose, I'll be here for Game 7. I'll get a story out, whatever, blah, blah. I am shitting my pants going into the third period of Game 6. And I am so curious to know what it was like in that room, between the second and third for you guys in Game 6. You have a 2-goal lead. It feels like the momentum is fully in your hands now in that series. And, kind of your takeaway from that crazy third period comeback by the Rangers in Game 6.
Yeah, I could speak to my opinion on it. I don't want to, I don't want to make it a general assessment.
For sure, yeah.
But my opinion was after the second, going into the third, seemed real confident. I was real confident inside.
Mm-hmm.
Like, to me, there wasn't not that we were confident, the game's over. I'm saying a sense of confidence. It wasn't like sticks were tight, like, oh, we got to close this thing out and get back to New York. I thought we were playing really good.
Yeah.
And
I thought we were cooked.
Yeah. And we come back into the third period. I'm not sure, how, I remember the game obviously a lot closer than maybe some fans would. You guys remember the Rangers side, but for us, Martinuk hits a crossbar, maybe the first or second shift of the period. Aho has a breakaway. We don't capitalize on either one of those, and we were dominating the first 4.5 minutes of that period. Yeah. We score one of those, the game's a 3-goal game now. It's probably over. And then, the Rangers get kind of a weird ricochet. It hits off the side. It's laying there, hits off, the inside of the pad. They get one, no big deal. Then they get a power play. And when the Rangers go to the power play, I guess, you could sense things start to turn a little bit. A lot of blue in the crowd, unfortunately. And then they get another one. And then, from my opinion, like I said, I don't know what guys were thinking, but I felt a little bit of a which is natural instinct, I guess, but I felt a little bit of a deflation go through the bench there. And then obviously they get the next one, and then it's like you're just chasing at that point. I think we had 5 minutes tied. They might have scored 6 minutes left. I don't know what the exact time was. But going into that period, it was smooth sailing. And the start of it, we were buzzing pretty good too. Yeah. Two grade A chances to score. I mean, you get one of those, you're going to Game 7 almost 100% of the time. So that's just the way the Rangers, listen, Kreids and the Rangers, they gave us a tough series, and I thought there was games that we could have won even before then. They had the overtime games. We just couldn't find a way to get that one goal we needed. They did. So, that's the way it goes in a playoff series.
Yeah, I would have boycotted that Game 7 had you guys made it there.
That would have been. I mean, listen, having a Game 7 chance to play Game 7 in MSG after being down 3-0 to tie to 3 would have been great for hockey, great for us players, great for the sport, but not for the Rangers. They're happy the way it ended there. But I'm saying for us, right, we were on that path. It would have been pretty cool.
It's interesting to hear the way you talk about it too, because you're like, it would be great for hockey. And, I don't think, again, people who don't know you don't realize, like, you're a major hockey fan. Like, first and foremost, I've seen it. I've witnessed it. Like, you love the game. You're very, in tune with what's going on around the league. And so just to have that wherewithal, JR came on our show a month ago now. And we talked to him, and he just kept talking about how important each hockey moment was, but he just kept relating it back to the fans and how they create everything. And you've referenced the fans probably 3 times when you were talking about the blue shirts in the stands, how great it would be for hockey. Is that something that is that just because you still have that little kid in you that just loves the game of hockey? I mean, where does that sort of recognition to the fans come from? Because most guys, you hear them say it, Tony, but it's very cliche, right? It's not like natural speak.
I guess there's probably 3 parts to that, if you don't mind. I'll kind of explain it to you. Obviously, that little kid part, I was such a crazy hockey fan growing up, a huge Flyers fan. I used to get in trouble when the Flyers would lose. I get sent up to my room because I'd be yelling or being pissed off about something. So you still have that part, love of the game. But as far as, and myself too, when I'm done playing here, whenever that may be, I'd like to get into some sort of management, coaching, whatever the case may be. That's kind of what I have a passion for. Really, is hockey is number one, and that's what I want to do no matter what. Whether I'm playing still, coaching, managing. But the third part is the fans make. First of all, they make the whole game. When there was 0 people in the building during COVID, I didn't really play much that year. I was only there the first couple weeks, but. You're intense. The intensity for us players are still there, but there's nothing behind you. It's horrible. It's not the same. The fans make it. They make the game, and without the fans, we wouldn't be doing what we do. The passion of the fans. Like you go into between going to MSG and back and forth to Carolina. I mean, most of the talk is about the fans, the crowds, the national anthems in New York when they got the opera guy out there. Like all that stuff goes into it. And to me, that's like the most important part. The funnest part of the game as well. And I always get into, the fans' passion. I think is hilarious because I was the same way I don't think there was Instagram back then, so I wasn't DMing players, but a lot of people
you fucked up my parlay, Tony.
A lot of people DM me and stuff now, and they're like going crazy in these, and I respond in like a nice way. I'm like, honestly, man, I appreciate like how passionate you are about the Rangers or Islander, whoever it may be. I said, the person, it doesn't bother me when they trash you personally. I think it's funny. I just think it's great how much that they appreciate the game, and I've actually having some good conversations with people over time that realize that I'm not looking to fight with them. I kind of just I laugh at what they say, and then they start they turn one. I was a big fan of you when you were in New York. Yada yada yada.
They just want your attention.
Yeah, and I give it to them sometimes because I say, what, these people care so much. One time I had a guy, I don't know, he messaged me 50 times. I was like, what, this guy loves the Rangers so much. Let me message him back and tell him that I hear him and I appreciate how much he loves the Rangers. But it was.
How did that conversation turn into?
It does a 180. It always does a 180. I mean, some people just keep going and then you leave it alone. But a lot of people, like you said, they want your attention. You give them the attention, and we talk. Sometimes we sit there. I message 10, 15 times back and forth, just talking hockey. And then at the end of it, they're like, "Good luck next year. Hope you sign somewhere," or whatever the case may be. So that's none of that stuff bothers me.
And then I guarantee you, they sit around and tell their buddies. Like,
they'll probably screen in 2 seconds.
Guess who finally responded to me? And you know what? He's actually just a solid, normal human being like the rest of us. Like,
but they're still going to go chant "fuck you, Tony" at MSG.
Exactly. Which actually is, contrary to what the Ranger fans might think, it actually helps my game. I love it. I think it's great.
You were booed. I mean, it's like we're sitting there watching the playoffs this year. My wife and I, who you obviously know. And she's like, "Oh my God, every time he's on the ice," she's like, "That's got to suck." And I'm like, you know what? I think for him, it just motivates him and makes him play better.
Yeah. I remember I was telling the guys on the plane, I was like, I wonder if these fans know I haven't played the last 50 games of the season. I said, maybe they should boo Gens, who scores against them every time he goes into New York, or Aho, or, Slavin, somebody different, but I'll take it.
Well, that's something that I wanted to follow up with. When you talk about being that little kid, I mean, in your wildest dreams, could you ever have imagined the reception you get when you step on the ice at MSG? And kind of to that, I'm good friends with Alex and AJ who do Blue York, and I know you've partnered up with them in the past. They're the best, and they love you, and they just wanted me to ask you, what is your relationship like with the Ranger fans right now?
I think that there would be a good amount of Ranger fans there that I still have a good relationship with if I seen them, that would still come to me, say hello or whatever, if I seen them outside the Ranger.
I'm one of them. I'll just say that.
That's just part, like I said, we were talking about 2 minutes ago. It's just part of the, people start booing or booing right with them. And, I'm sure there's a good amount of Ranger fans that aren't fans of mine at all and want to boo too. But I loved playing in New York, loved it. And the fans are great. I always spoke of that. Even when I was gone, I never have a bad word to say about the Ranger fans. It's MSG, it's Ranger fans, New York, sports town. I would go back to New York tomorrow in a second to play for a New York sports team. So to me, it's just part of the game. It's part of the playoffs. They don't really, the regular season actually did a little bit too, but I was a little surprised about that. I thought it was more just a playoff thing, but to me, it's just part of it. They care about their team more than the guy that left.
Well, look, I remember coming up and watching you in New York when you were first kind of breaking in. They loved you and you were there. I mean, you came in, you're dynamic, you make plays. I mean, I think people who can just think about hockey can appreciate what you do. But look, let's talk about New York a little bit. And I want to have an opportunity because we do have a lot of Ranger people that watch our show because Jonny brings in a pretty big a pretty big Rangers audience to our show. The whole thing happens with Georgiev, okay? And then all those made up complete BS stories start going out there. And I just want to give you an opportunity and, look, talk about what you are comfortable talking about it. But, with the Keandre Miller stuff, and it was all such bullshit. Like, it was completely fabricated. But I want to hear you, an hour ago, we sat with Brett Pesci, who sat there and gushed over you. And that episode is going to release before this episode, and said you are one of his best friends in the world. And there has never been a guy that he's cared about more on a team than you. He said he's losing sleep over the fact that you're not signed right now. He said that because he can't understand it, because he knows how good you are. So talk a little bit about this New York thing, because I just want people who don't actually know and who think that there was a Keandre Miller story to this to know that it had to do with some lazy goaltender that you had a confrontation with, which is completely normal at that level.
Yeah, I think obviously there's way more to it than just the incident with Georgie there at the end of the year. I don't know if I'm sure Ranger fans remember, but my first game of the season that year, I'm coming off a good year. I got a 2-year extension in New York, and then we had first game of the year that year. We were playing against the Isles, and I got what I thought was a pretty weak call late in the third period. Not even late, early in the third period. Excuse me. We're down 4-0 to the Islanders on the opening game.
It was a rough game.
Brutal game, and brutal way to start off after a long layoff and training camp, yada yada yada, whatever. And I take a holding penalty on Barzell. I disagree with the call. I slammed the door in the box, and I get another 2. So I go from 2 to 4-minute penalty. I don't believe they score if I'm remembering right, but I come back to the bench, and David Quinn was the head coach, and Quinny sat me. Anyway, Quinny and I disagreed about it, and that's all besides the point. I wind up sitting the next 2 games. So the season starts off a little bit rocky, unfortunately, and that was due to my fault. So I wasn't handling that very well at the time. And then you fast forward a little bit and actually rewind a little bit. First, that was during the end of the election, president transition, and I had gotten in some trouble about some questionable tweets I made that that offended some people, offended season ticket holders, all that kind of stuff, which once again totally understood, and deleted Twitter. Said I was leaving for, I think said I was leaving for Parler. I don't think I made the Parler account. I'm not sure. Maybe I did. But I wasn't actively on it. And that was, causing up a stir. So you get an unnecessary stir that was, caused by myself. And we get off to a rocky start in that season too, right? So between sitting after taking the penalty and taking the second penalty, which was stupid, now you're in a bit of a bind here with management, with the staff, whatever. And then you fast forward to the Georgie incident, which was probably the least worrisome incident for them out of all of them. But I guess just the icing on the cake. And as far as to go into the Georgie story, it's happened 8 million times, I'm sure. My fault once again. I don't think people don't realize that I'm very self-conscious or not self-conscious, conscious of the things that I've done or started. Or
self-aware.
Yeah, self-aware. So the Georgie thing, it was a tough game. He struggled. I struggled in the game. We were playing against Pittsburgh. Coming down the tunnel, I yelled at Georgie, make a bleeping save, 100%. So if I didn't yell at Georgie wasn't going to turn around and try to do anything. That's a fact. So obviously I started. I wasn't thinking what was going to happen next was going to happen. That was a surprise to me. But Georgie was running hot after the game, struggled in the game, right? And he turns around and fires a headbutt at me. So, he got a goalie mask on. I only got the player visor. So I get a little, my face cut on the side of my face. So I can't, there's nothing really to hit him. So I just hit him like quick.
Oh, you got him with a stick?
But it's on the goalie mask, right? Yeah. So it goes a little bit into the locker room. Nothing really happens though. There was no, nobody's going to let guys fight in there. The guys break it up. Yada, yada, yada. It ends.
I mean, that stuff happens in practice every other day.
They don't locker box in the NHL?
There's real fist fights in practice. And, so the stories start coming out. The next day I wasn't, we were told, don't come to the rink. Georgie, don't come to the rink. Tony, don't come to the rink. And I had a feeling something was going to come there. I thought I was going to get traded, to be honest with you. And I wound up getting put on release waivers, 12 o'clock. Elliot Friedman broke the news to me. I didn't even know yet. And I seen through Elliot Friedman on Twitter that I was on waivers. And, to be honest with you, it wasn't a total shock that I was going to be out of there at that point because the season started off so rocky. and a lot of it being my fault. But the final incident, like I said, probably just icing on the cake. But what it turned into, what people wrote about it, how it came out after that. And me and Georgie were fine. We weren't the best of buddies, never were the best of buddies. But I think if we both would have came back to the rink on Tuesday, let's just say we had Monday off,
put it behind you.
I think everything would have been Georgie comes up to me when we played the following year in Carolina, shaking my hand, hugging me, saying hello. I would say hello to him if I seen him. It's just the way hockey guys are. You guys know how it is.
Yeah.
And so that was honestly the least of my worries, that incident there. But I guess it was the most public thing that came out that blew up. And then what bugged me the most was the stories that came out after about Keandre. That idiot wrote that story. It was so stupid. But what happened though was that those stories trended so much and had so many clicks and views, and people are going to believe it when they see it, right? That's just the way social media is now. It's the power of the media.
Well, the media is the most. They're the most. They're the most
Excluding
dishonest
me,
people.
right?
They're the most dishonest people in the world. I mean, we see what's happening in our world today. There is not a more dishonest group of people than media people.
Yeah, and people ran with this story. That one bugged me because that was so. And I would never share a text message from a guy, but I talked to Keandre after it, and I said, hey, listen, don't read any of this garbage. Yeah. I said you got a big future ahead of you, a great young player. Best of luck to you, yada yada yada. It was a pleasure getting to know you. And he texted me back something real nice, and there was nothing I'll ever share, we'll ever repeat on here. But me and him both knew that the stories they were writing were total garbage, and it was just nice to be able, to talk to him about it and put it to bed. What was I going to do? I'm not going to ever screenshot a guy and say, look, he sent me this. That's not why I was texting.
Yeah, and you shouldn't.
That's so weird.
and you had guys like Brady Shea and Kevin Shattenkirk in that locker room, and you had all sorts of veterans, and those guys, man, they would all have your back, and they all continue to have your back, just like Pesci did an hour ago. And when you start asking guys, veterans, 15-year veterans, Hall of Famers, All-Stars, Olympians, and they all tell you the same thing, it's like, well, geez, maybe all the people that played with this guy, maybe they actually know what they're talking about, and maybe the blue check brigade, the writers, maybe they're the ones who are not correct, and they're not correct in this situation.
Yeah, it just blew way out of control. Like I said, that was one of them weird years. There was nothing going on, no fans in the rink, so everyone was looking for something big. I guess we gave it to them, and but yeah, the stories that they just bugged me. The stories that came out, they were so far fetched and almost like viciously made up. I don't know who could come up with such a goofy story like that I stole his first goal puck. Insane things. And the crazy part was it had a big effect on what happened the rest of that year. And I obviously went unclaimed, got bought out that summer, and then kind of restarted there in Carolina, and things got back on the right track for a while. But it was just, to me, one of them situations where if I would have done the right thing from the start, from the beginning of training camp, whatever it was, none of that probably would have happened. But it did. The only part I regret is what happened after, how out of control it got, that we weren't able to get ahead of it in a like an interview like this. Almost, we weren't able to get ahead of it in a quicker way where people could have got to the truth. We kind of just tried to stay back and just wait things out, and that didn't work very well.
And I want to, Johnny, and I'm going to let you ask some questions here, because I know I haven't really let you do that yet. I just want to add a couple of contextual things. Like, you had a first-time NHL head coach who 100% is looking to make a statement the way that he's dealing with you. Like, he came there knowing you were a good player, but like wanting to basically do the way he did for us when we were freshmen in college, which he can't do. He wanted to kind of show us, hey, it's my way or the highway, and kind of turn into this like fatherly like figure, which doesn't work in the NHL. I know, I lived it with him. I did. I played for him for years. And I think he wanted to make an example out of you. And I think that, for better or for worse, that's what happened. And then, you go to Carolina to Rod Brindamore, one of the most respected men in the game. And I've had a conversation with Rod about you, and he doesn't have a bad thing to say about you other than that you were a total pro. And even though you acted the same way when it wasn't going well in your second stint as you did when it was going incredibly well in your first stint. And he tipped his cap to you. And so I think when someone like Rod Brindamore is willing to say that, I think that carries a lot of weight. So I just wanted to add a little context, Johnny. I'll let you go ahead.
I'll add something before. Hold on, Johnny.
I'm just gonna fucking head out.
As far as Quinny goes, too, being Quinny, it was pretty public knowledge that we went back and forth a little bit, but I actually really liked him. And I think people thought we hated each other. I remember Quinny being on the podcast and said when I got fired from the Rangers, one of the first texts was for me. And I said it was.
Mm-hmm.
I said there were some things that we didn't agree with that I did or he did as coach, or how we, went back and forth with each other about it. But I actually thought he was one of the only – I always tell this story about him. One of the things I liked most about him was how much he cared. We could be down in a game like 4-0 in a third period. If we scored, he was like, you hear him behind you. Like, yeah, or doing something. I like that because it just showed how much passion he had for the team winning or, and wanting to win. Whether you liked some of the things he did or not meant nothing. But I always thought on his second time around, I know he was in a tough spot there in San Jose, which would, with what he had, it's going to be tough to get to where you want to go with a rebuilding team. You guys know how that is. But I thought that the more chances he gets, I think the better and better and better he'll get. And he's going to Pittsburgh now, and I think being with Sullivan and having guys like Sid there, like true superstars, probably maybe the best player of all time, some people would say. And I still think that Quinny's got a future again as a head coach. Go ahead, Johnny. Before I cut.
Am I allowed to go? Hand up.
Yeah,
you can be a part of this.
Now it's a fucking stupid question because we're talking about other things, and I wanted to follow.
You can circle back.
We can circle back. That's okay with you guys? Okay,
ahead,
thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Well, Tony, you came into the Rangers too at an interesting time. Like it was right after that letter was released, right? Like saying we're going in a new direction. I think you were traded for Stepan, right?
I was there when the letter came out. It came out halfway through that year, before the deadline. The year I was there.
Yeah. So, right then and there, like that's a bonding thing for the guys that are now in the organization. And, you said you won't read a text out loud, but I will. I texted Foxy and asked him about you because I know you and Foxy are tight. Yeah. And, he's always said you're the man. Like he's always told me how awesome of a teammate you are and how great of a guy you are. And he actually said to ask about his Halloween costume my rookie year. I think he was trying to be a character from Zoolander, but Stromer sent a picture of him to the group calling him the Tin Man. Don't know why, but I thought it was so funny at the time. Me and Lindy came in these horrible Dumb and Dumber costumes, so I'm sure he'll come back with that.
His Dumb and Dumber costumes were as bad as my Zoolander costume. I tried to do Zoolander. You know when he has that like silver suit on?
Yeah, the jacket, right?
And and it wound up looking just like it looked like exactly like Stromer saying he takes the word out of my mouth. It just looked just like the Tin Man. And it was nothing. So like trying to make out what it might have been, I put a like one of them ties around your head, like to try to make it like it was Zoolander. And you got to remember, it was kind of a stupid idea by me because you got Europeans on the team and stuff that really probably haven't watched those movies that we watched.
I mean, that movie is a classic, though.
Yeah, I thought it was a classic too, but I'm a movie guy, so I guess people don't always, they don't always know. Maybe 3 people there knew who I was, and I had to explain to the other 40 between wives and girlfriends, whatever it was, what I was. But they came in with a real classic too, though. Dumb and Dumber. No one did that before.
That's hilarious. But point being, when all that stuff went down with Georgiev and you departed from the Rangers waivers, whatever you want to call it, were the guys like, I imagine just, they must have felt for you because it sounded like the whole team loved you. And, that's something that I just wanted to ask you about as well. Like what it was like from the guys when everything went down.
Yeah. I mean, some guys probably almost felt awkward in the situation because they were like, so, like I said, Elliot Friedman is the way I found out that I was going on waivers. I knew something was coming. I didn't know what it was going to be, but I found out that through waivers. And then about 8-9 minutes later, Ryan Strome and Brendan Lemieux, 2 guys I was real close with, texted me and said, going to miss you. I guess, the team was informed. And then I started to, hear about it that I wasn't going to be back.
So they texted you going to miss you before you even knew?
I knew, but I'm saying I seen I was going on waivers. But I think that they knew I wasn't coming back either way, whether I cleared waivers or didn't clear waivers. Okay. And then, like I said, I started to hear. So, I stayed. I'm still close with a good amount of those guys on the team, and I wound up playing with Brendan Smith, who I was real close with. We wound up playing together in Carolina.
Smitty's the best.
Yeah, I heard he's a beauty.
Yeah, I went back with Brady and Jesper Foss in Carolina. So there were so many guys you still got close with, and then you see the Ranger guys throughout the year. And now one of my other best buddies is with the Rangers. Troach goes from Carolina to the Rangers, so I still have so many connections, to the group. But I was still watching every game. I was living in Hoboken, so I was watching. 7 o'clock comes around, I watched the game, and I remember they were playing that game against Washington, and I was dying to be there. I was like, this would have been perfect for me to have been there. This is what this is what
Tom Wilson broke the Rangers game
when they had the the big fight. When they came back to New York and they had all the fights and stuff. But yeah, it was. I've had a couple tough years, unfortunately, but it was a tough year. But the one thing that I've always been happy about, which people don't, I guess, do enough research on, or this is nice to hear you guys say it, know it, and talk about it, is the one thing I've always tried to go back on was that I've always been a good teammate.
Yeah.
Sometimes I've been tough on teammates, 100%. Like I've, bitched or yelled or whatever, and guys would probably tell you that too. But off the ice and on the ice, when they were in need, I've always been a good teammate and have, hundreds of friends, I'd say, at this point, between playing on so many different teams and stuff. So to me, when it's all said and done, that's more important to me, the relationship I have with guys than what other people are going to be saying about it.
Also, for what it's worth, Colby, if I could speak one more time, and then I'll shut up for the rest of the episode. No, I find it very ironic, though, like, what you said to Georgiev was make a fucking save. Like, and one of my favorite player in the league right now, Jack Hughes, says in like a post-game interview, like, wish we could have gotten a save there, like on it, like, in the microphone, like, so it's just, those things happen. Like, hockey players' emotions are high always, and it's not something that's uncommon,
Yeah. And Georgie shouldn't be blamed either, because listen, if somebody said something to me coming out of the tunnel like that after a tough game, I don't know what I would have done.
You would have had a bad reaction too.
Yeah, I never blamed him as far as that went. That was just heat in the moment. What I blamed was what happened after, how it was a bit of a 180, and as far as how things were handled with each individual. That's why I tried to give you guys the context a little bit of. I knew there was stuff beforehand. I was self-aware, like Jonny said, of that there was stuff beforehand that I put myself in a tough spot.
Yeah, well, and look, when you finally do decide to have a wedding, whenever that day comes, it will that's how you always can tell, right? How many guys are gonna up in the summer,
guest list,
and you're gonna, I mean, dude, you're gonna have to have like 400 people at your wedding. You realize that? Unless you do it in like some remote island in Fiji, but you're because it's true. Like, the amount of guys that are like, yeah, Tony's one of my best friends. Like, it's a long list, and I hope your better half is prepared for that when that day comes, because it's going to be a lot of people that are expecting invitations to that thing.
That's what happens when you keep getting bought out and going to new teams every year.
You get new friends.
20 new guys. All right, 20 new friends. We'll add them in.
That's so funny. Like in junior, I remember when guys got traded, we're just like, you just want more Instagram followers, dude.
Yeah.
From team to team.
You get traded to the new big team.
Being that you are such a hockey guy, I do want to ask you a couple of actual hockey related questions, and I do want to talk to you about what's going to go on with you for this year, but I'm thinking we can kind of finish with that. But just out of curiosity, like, being such a fan of the game, like, who is your favorite defenseman in the National Hockey League to watch? Like, who's the guy that you're like, all right, this is a guy who's worth sitting down in front of my TV and like, I'm like, holy shit.
Good question. I mean, I don't want to give you the obvious answer with Makar, especially for a guy that plays the way I try to play. He does it like all of us, but does it about 20 times better than everybody else.
Yeah.
I've honestly put him, he's so far ahead now, in my opinion, on what he's able to do to the next guy offensive. Again, there's some, how good some of the offensive guys are. I just think Makar's in a class of his own now.
I agree.
And then you come to, I hope I don't miss any names here, Foxy, Quinn Hughes, and Roman Josi. You could probably go in any order there. Quinn Hughes, the way he had this year, would probably go, him, Josi. I don't know what order I'd put it in, but those three guys, I enjoy watching guys that create. If I just want to watch a guy, a two-way guy, there's nobody better than Hedman, in my opinion. And I love McAvoy as well. Mm-hmm. But I like watching guys that create out of nothing, so I love to watch. If you're watching, you get home after the 7:00 game and Vancouver's playing, it's pretty nice to watch Quinn Hughes. I mean, he just, anytime he gets the puck, he can cut and create himself 2-3 seconds of space and then make a play. And, Foxy does it a total different way. Foxy does it more with just smarts and patience and skill, and he'll just hold you out and hold you out and hold you out, and then boom, perfect pass. And he'll have his stick. He's got the stick position, his head's moving, and that's almost even more impressive than what some guys skating could do. Because the speed of skating, you can create that time for yourself, right? When you're just cutting and flying, like a car could explode and just be gone by anybody in a half a second. But those four guys to me are my favorite to watch. I just love to see the high level plays they're making. They're making all games. And then on the other end, I get to watch it firsthand every night. You watch Slavin defend. Nobody defends like Slavin. Nobody has a stick like Slavin. Nobody defends one-on-one like Slavin. But two-way guy, if you're just watching, if I would tell a kid, watch a defenseman. I'm not going to say Hedman because Hedman's 6'7" or 6'6", whatever he is, so it's tough. Not everybody's going to be 6'6". I would tell guys to watch, kids that I train and stuff, I'd say watch McAvoy.
Yeah.
40-point guy. He'd probably be higher than a 40-point. I think he'd be a 50, 60-point guy easily.
But dominates from the position.
Yeah. I said after Makar,
skates, he's the real deal.
Yeah.
If I'm picking a defenseman after Makar for a playoff series, it's McAvoy. Come playoff time, I think Charlie is the next.
Yeah, well, Hedman and McAvoy, but it's really interesting because I would agree with you. Like Makar is almost at a point where like it's like not fair because of his tools, and it's like he's gonna do his thing. So it's interesting. I think for me, I like the way Yossi does it. Like he to me is so entertaining. The way he just gets up and down the ice and like
a forward sometimes.
It's not as smooth as Quinn Hughes. There's like a little more chop to it. But I think the most impressive is Fox because he's smaller and he's not fast. Like he's not slow, but he's not one of these guys that is able to float when he skates. Like Quinn Hughes, even like you guys that are these like these dynamic skaters, like it's almost like you guys are floating above the ice. Why I think the Fox is the most impressive is because you're right. He does it all with this. Yeah. Obviously, he's got the hands, but it's just like his brain and his eyes work better than anybody else's brain and eyes in the entire NHL.
Yeah, I put his hockey IQ. Sorry, Johnny. I put Foxy's hockey IQ. I mean, I can't think. Kucherov might be number one offensive IQ, but Foxy's hockey IQ. If he's not top three, I'm either missing two guys or missing a couple other guys.
I'm with you.
He's got to be right there. It was impressive to watch, and when he's a rookie too, which was the crazy part, he did it right away. Patient, calm. He wasn't in a hurry as a rookie. His first couple games, a lot of guys he's just got that demeanor to him, and obviously he's turned into a Norris Trophy guy.
It is funny too, though, because like everyone has critiqued Foxy's skating like throughout his entire life, and I'm pretty friendly with the Foxy family. His parents actually live on the same block as my parents right now, so I talk to Bruce all the time. And I did like an interview with Bruce this year, and I said like, if you could tell your son Adam like one thing, what would it be? Like before he made the NHL, and he just goes, power skate. Like it was so
smooth. He's smooth. Yeah. He's just you're not going to say, I'm not going to say he's faster than Quinn or Makar or Heiskanen and them guys. They like Colby said, them guys float. They're gone. They get a step on you, they're gone. Foxy will just get a step on you mentally, and you got no chance. He'll put it right through your stick. He'll do anything he wants with it, which is, like we said, probably even more impressive in a sense.
Mm-hmm. I did Foxy's last college game. I don't remember who they
lost. That was against
to.
UMass, I think.
It might have been. I think it was in the Northeast Regional up in Manchester.
Yeah, that was
UMass. And I had seen Fox play during the regular season, and I was like, yeah, this kid's good. But like honestly, I watched him in that NCAA tournament game against a UMass team that ended up going all the way to the finals. I believe they lost that year. I don't think that they won. They had Makar on that team. And I remember thinking to myself, like, I don't understand why everybody thinks that Fox is such a shoo-in, because his skating to me at this level doesn't look good enough to play the way he plays. It's one of the wrongest things. I don't even know how to phrase it. I've never been so wrong in my life other than when I didn't realize that Tucson and Tuscan was pronounced Tucson in Arizona.
So fucking good, Tony.
And Adam Fox's last college game, where I said, yeah, I think he'll be an NHLer, but I never would have thought he would be one of the best defensemen in the league every year. I mean, like, I couldn't have been more wrong about that based on what I saw him. And that's one game, so it's not really fair for one game. But seeing him on college ice versus Makar, I was like, these guys aren't even close. Like, And who would have thought Makar was going to walk into the NHL and just be the best freaking player in the league the day he got there? I mean, and he was.
Arguably the best player in the league.
Yeah, easily. Him and McDavid are 1 and 1A.
His teammate might be 1AA, then McKinnon might be 1AA.
Yeah. And then Draisaitl might be 1AAA.
Legit. So, Tony, one thing I wanted to just ask you about too, and sorry, Colby, did you have a follow-up?
No, go ahead.
Kind of like taking it back a step. Like one thing I do love, and I think hockey needs more of, is, guys that are currently playing, talking more and being more, outgoing personality wise and stuff. And when you were doing your podcast, was it Watch Your Tone?
Yeah.
Like I thought that was awesome. Like, now we see it with Draymond Green and Paul George and the NBA guys doing it, the Kelsey brothers doing it in the NFL. Like why'd you stop it? Was that a thing?
I think there was so much going on the way my career was headed. I just tried to take a step back and focus on getting back in the league first and kind of just reestablishing my game and focusing on that more than as far as, the podcast goes. And that was what I tried to do there. We were, people thought we were going to talk about politics and this and that and there. I was breaking chops.
Well, you had Fox on, right?
Twitter. Yeah, Foxy came on. Foxy was a good interview, and we had a bunch of guys on, and we enjoyed talking to them. We're going to try to make it something, pretty legit, like what you guys are doing, what everybody's doing. I wanted to interview all sports because I have a passion for all different kinds of sports. But the way things went at that time, leaving the Rangers, I wasn't going to be sitting in my, apartment podcasting every week. I was kind of focused on trying to get myself back somewhere and stay in shape, get back on a team, whatever it was going to be during that season that I got released or the next season. So it kind of just slowed up there. I think when I'm done playing, I would love to do something of the sorts again, where you could really even dive into it more. And not that you want to talk negative about guys, but sometimes you don't want to talk about certain things. You might get traded to a team that week where you're just talking about a guy or, whatever. So you try to keep it, a little bit behind like that. So maybe hopefully a few years from now we'll get it going.
Well, my question really was like, are current players actually like listening to what people are saying? Because I know everyone says they brush it off, but I also know that everyone has like a fucking burner account and like pays attention to the media. Like,
I'm sure guys listen. I mean, it's talked about. Some guys laugh about some of the stuff that gets said,
Yeah.
but like one guy, I like PK a lot. I think PK does a real good job on ESPN, and I think I'm sure guys listen. Everyone follows him so on Instagram. So you see when he posts his clips and stuff, and he puts, he's energetic. He's running to the big board and showing stuff. Like I think that's good for hockey. I think it would actually be good if other players, during the playoffs that are out or whatever, went on the panel and broke down certain things or stuff like that. I just think that we go a little bit old school in a sense as far as how all those things are set up, and it's just the way our sport is. But I think to grow, we need, like you're saying, you need more current players doing more in a sense. I don't know what more is. I guess that is up to the marketing people and stuff. But even like that, like I just said to you, I would love to see, let's just say if McDavid was out of the playoffs, you'd love to see McDavid on the panel on TNT, break down the game.
You see it in other sports.
Yeah, I mean, he's the best player in the world. Break it down from your vantage point, what he sees. Let's get in, and then it gets the fans get in his mind for a second, something like that.
Yeah, like Josh Hart at the NBA Finals, I think.
Yeah, and they just break it down. I mean, and there's some guys that could probably break it down a little better than others, maybe. So you got to find, like PK does it great. You got to find. You don't want a guy that's going to go on there and then freeze up and not be able to break down anything. So, but they know how to find out that kind of stuff.
Well, and I think, listen, I personally, like, I look forward, a lot of my peers and guys my age, and look, you're not that much younger and you'll get here eventually, but are starting to kind of hit the retirement age. And I had this conversation with Shaddy a couple of days, maybe a week ago, and I was like, the day you retire, you'll have a job at ESPN or TNT if you want it. Yeah. And I think you should. I'm like, it's an amazing way to stay in the game. The current players. Your opinion is so highly valued. And then I think there's forums like this one where you don't have to worry about what you can and can't say. You could say whatever you feel like. And listen, we say a lot of things on this show that a lot of people won't say. We can be critical. Okay, I guess I do. Johnny crawls up under his desk and just hopes people don't associate us together, Tony.
I don't like when people hate me.
I'm very okay being hated. That never bothered me. I think that it's a great thing. And here's what we'll tell you. Anytime you want to come on our show, you're always welcome. You've sat with us here for almost an hour. And the last thing I want to ask you about is what is the plan for next year? What are your options? What are your plans? What are you willing to do? Because you're too good not to play. I mean, it's you just are. You're too good not to make a bunch of money and play this game. And one of the best players on the planet is the reality of the situation.
Yeah. Well, I'm definitely going to play. That's, I'm going to play one way or another, whether I get a job in the NHL or I don't, I'm going to play. I know them stuff this weekend came out about signing a deal in the KHL. Obviously not true.
Oh yeah. I did.
Or I might be on a plane overseas right now. If that was
I
true.
saw that you retired.
Yeah. I won't leave any option off the table. I'm not just going to flat out deny that I would go over there. My options are open because I'm going to play. I just think, like Colby said, I think I have too much left to give, not to play at all. but I'm really willing to do whatever it takes to get back on a team. I think that a lot of guys signed. I was a little bit surprised. Not totally surprised. I didn't really play much last year, and there's past and all the other stuff.
Sure, playoffs. I mean, I think you put a showcase on in the playoffs.
Yeah, I thought I played well. I thought, like we talked about, me and you talked about, I thought the playoffs would have gotten, would have landed at least a 1-year deal somewhere, wherever, fresh start, whatever the case was going to be. But you guys know how it goes. Next couple of weeks here in late August, guys will start to chip off the board, the guys that are left. So we'll see what happens there. If nothing happens, I'll make a decision on where exactly it is that I'm gonna go play. But you guys, maybe I'll be the one to break that first. Maybe I'll try to get a little traction for the page. But
tell Travis Sanheim, he'll do it.
Yeah, Sandy can break it for me too.
That was pretty funny what he did for TK, wasn't it?
Yeah, Sandy was just like myself. Sandy was into all the insider stuff. He's listening to the shows and hearing what's going on, trying to get to the bottom of it.
Lots told us that.
That was cool, though. That was cool. He did that.
Lots told us that. We had Lots last week, and he told us that Sanheim, they call him Bob or whatever, like Bob McKenzie Jr. or something.
Yeah, Lots is one of the best, by the way. What a classic. Good dude. But, basically, you'll I guess we'll see here in the next couple of weeks what's going to go on. I think that I could contribute to a good amount of teams in this league still. I take a look at all the rosters, and I don't know all the prospects and stuff, so I guess I can't say. Maybe there's somebody coming. Maybe there's a hole I see that's not really a hole. They got a kid coming up or whatever. But I still think there's hopefully some options out there, and my phone's on, whatever. So just staying in shape, skating every morning, working out, same as everybody else is doing, preparing to play. And if I get the chance, great, and hopefully run with it again. If not, and I'll make another decision and figure it out.
But your plan is to be patient and see if something happens here before you do make a decision, whether it's Russia or Switzerland or wherever it could be, Germany, like who knows, right? Yeah. So, but you would like to be patient and stick around here, which not that you're asking, but I do think that's the right decision because who doesn't need a right shot guy who can score 40 points? I mean, because that's
the only team that doesn't right now is probably the Devils.
What you're doing.
Yeah.
Their right side's loaded.
I talk to so many different people, and Pesh is one of the guys I talk to the most. Obviously, he calls me almost every day because, like you said, he's been stressing about it almost as much as I am. I think the way we talk on the phone. But to me, and I think, I don't know, I'm sure people do know this. I don't know if they do, but it's something like I don't mind going in and competing either. I'm not asking, like, I'm telling teams, I need to be the 5, 6, I need to run your power. Like, that's not anything I'm saying. You want me to go in and compete with somebody, I'm happy to do that as well, and try to win a job. And if you don't win the job, wait to get your chance. But to me, that's all part of camp. There's probably not enough competition in camp these days. Most rosters are set. But I'm willing to do whatever it takes, and hopefully get the chance to do so. If I don't, you guys will hear about it through me. I'll let you know. I'll break you. I'll be Sandy on my own.
We'll get him on the show and let him break his own news to us. How about that? We love that. Well,
happy
look,
to
man,
come on
we really appreciate your time. I know I asked you for 30 minutes. You stayed with us for an hour. It's no different than what you do when you're at Skate Zone and these little kids are swarming you, and you stick around. You've got Checking for Charity coming up this weekend, a tournament that I assume you pay for. So you're donating money and you're putting a team into. So another feather in your cap for things you're doing here in this area. We'll have you back on the show this year. Eh? Wherever you are, we'll have you back. We appreciate your time today, man.
Appreciate it. I'm hoping we don't have a time difference next time I come on. Hopefully we're in the same time zone. But I appreciate it.
Could be Anaheim. You never know.
That cool. Time difference is fine. I'm talking about the big one.
As long as it's a U.S. time zone, we'll make it work. All right, man. Look, I'll see you before whatever. I'll see you soon. Have a good rest of summer, and we'll keep our eyes open for any Tony D related news.
You got it. Pleasure, boys.
Thanks, Tony. Appreciate it. That was awesome. I'm surprised, though, you didn't give me the floor for one final question.
No, because we kept him for an hour.
Yeah, he was nice with his time. I had one thing that I was like, I kind of wanted to bring up, but I wouldn't have done it anyway, I think.
What was it?
It's just always something that I'm curious to ask players. I've actually never asked a player this before, but I find it so funny when a team, and for example, Carolina, they always in the arena show the highlight where Aho goes under Tony's stick and backhand shelf on Shesterkin in the bubble. And that highlight plays while Tony and Aho are now teammates. And I always I find that funny. If a guy
he probably thinks it's funny too.
But I'd look over the other end of the bench and be like, yeah, Remember that?
Listen, the reality with Tony is like Tony is the passion in his belly burns hard. Like
He's such a dad
he
for saying belly.
he just well, it's funny because I remember Tort saying that about him, and it's like if you're going into a foxhole, like that's the guy you want to go in the foxhole with you. Now, sometimes he loses it a little bit, and but like that's a guy you want on your team, and I hope people appreciated just how sort of humble and genuine he was throughout that hour with us, talking about some of those different situations and some of his coaches and stuff like that. And again, you and I have talked about this before. I've said to you, I don't care who you're voting for. I just care that you vote. I care that you're informed. I think that that's important. And I think the fact that, his political preference that gets held against him in the court or in people's, the way they judge him as a hockey player, I think it's total bullshit. You're seeing way more athletes coming out and supporting the same causes that and things that are important to him now. And I don't see people turning on those athletes. And look, again, things that are important to me might not be important to you. Things that are important to you might not be as important to me. Like that's why we live in this great country and we get to choose and we have multiple different people that we can support at state, local, federal levels. And so it was great to have him on. I hope he gets a deal. I really do. The fact that he came on without a deal, I mean, come on. Like most guys are like, yeah, I'll come on once I sign and once I have a deal. So it was great to talk to him, Johnny. I don't know if you want to quickly do our Calder conversation and do out west really quickly here before we end the episode. But I almost I want that interview to be able to live as its own because I thought it was such a meaningful interview with Tony.
No, I fully agree. And listen, Colby, I'm a Ranger fan. I was here for, Tony's years here, watching the team, watching everything that went down. I've never met Tony. That was my first ever time interacting with him. And again, maybe I was that Ranger fan 5 years ago that was like, oh, fuck DeAngelo, he's a dick because of what I read in the media. But now that I work in the league, every guy that I've met that knows Tony has only said good things about him.
I know.
So I understand what, people like me and the media can do when, you don't really know everything in a situation and you put it out there and you just kind of hope that it's true. But in some cases, it's not all true. And, I would never put something out there that I have not confirmed, but, I know I've believed it before in the past. So it was great to get to talk to him face to face. But like you said, just want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor, Out West. We're going to do a quick little Calder Trophy conversation sponsored by Out West. Summertime just got a little bit sweeter thanks to the guys over at Out West. That's right, everyone. As we mentioned earlier this year, Out West has released a brand new collection featuring 2 new hoodies and 6 stylish polos. But here's the catch. Some styles are flying off the shelves faster than expected. So head over to www.outwestgolf.com and use our code Cuppa, CUPPA in all caps for 15% off of your first order before they're gone. And Bleacher Report, actually, BR Open Ice, put out an article by the time you're listening to this. It was last week, but as we're recording it, I believe it was today, or was it yesterday, about who the top 5 likely candidates are for the Calder Trophy. It was actually published by Hannah Stewart on July 27th. We're talking about it on August 6th. So, Colby, I guess going into it, your prediction to win the Rookie of the Year or who you think will be the best rookie this year is who?
Well, look, I think the way Bleacher Report laid it out was like, who do you think is going to have the most impactful season? And they gave Michkov, Celebrini, Smith, and Cutter Gauthier. And my thought is the way that these players. So the biggest wild card for me is Michkov. I really don't have any idea how to handicap Matvei Michkov. Because I've never seen him play. I can't go off of Twitter highlights, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I just don't know what to make of that. I know he played in the KHL. I know he had success, but it's just hard for me to know. Kaprizov came in and lit it up right out of the KHL, but he was 24, 25 years old. So I think Celebrini, Gauthier, and then I think Michkov and Will Smith are a little bit of a toss-up. I do. I mean, I think Gauthier is older. He's a year older than these other. Well, he's 2 years older than Celebrini.
Yeah.
And he's had a couple of years of college under his belt. So I think that'll serve him well. But I still think Macklin Celebrini, to me, is the man of the hour. He's going to have a great season, and I expect a lot out of him. It's not as if Cutter Gauthier is playing with a star-studded team out in Anaheim. It's not like he's surrounded by, the core, the forward base of like the Toronto Maple Leafs or something like that, right? So I think it's going to be a Celebrini Cutter Gauthier rematch of the Hobey Baker. I'm biased and I'm going to go Celebrini, but I do think Cutter Gauthier is going to have a really good year. And again, Mitchkov to me is the wild card. I just don't know what to make of it. I hope he turns out great. I want him to be good. I want the Flyers fans to have something to be happy about this season. So I'd love to see Mitchkov, but it's just too much of a wild card for me. What do you think?
Well, the article also has Logan Stankoven in there too. And, I'm kind of curious to see where he's slotted into their lineup, because I know he was like a third liner, had some time on the second line. But to your point about Macklin Celebrini, like he's going to be put in every single situation. Like he is their first line center. He'll be the first line power play guy, probably on his flank, right? I would imagine. And I think he's just going to be given the keys to do whatever it is that he can do. And that's why I do agree with you. And it's not like he's the 18-year-old coming into the NHL that like Jack Hughes was. Jack Hughes came right from the NTDP, never played against men. Like Celebrini did this against 24 and 25-year-olds last year.
Won the Hobey. Yeah,
one like he
was
playing against men.
Carried the offense for a team
Even
that
Bedard
had
didn't
good players, but yeah, no, I know.
So that's why I think there's no reason to not believe in Macklin Celebrini. But again, I also think he will be the most impactful because of the opportunity he's going to get.
Yeah.
It's going to be Macklin's team basically,
right. And he plays with such a level of physicality and he's so aware defensively that you're right. I think up or down a goal, they'll be able to put him out at the end of a game, which like when,
but I think he'll have his moments where he's
struggling. Listen, every
everyone
player has their growing pains, no doubt, but I just have a lot of belief in him. So, look, that was a great episode.
Well, I have one more question for you, just on Macklin. Sorry. If you're setting an over under for points, what number are you putting it at?
I have no idea. I'm not doing that.
Okay.
I'm not doing that because again, that team's going to be so bad. I don't know who he's going to play with. I don't have a good feel for that. I have no idea.
Was 69.5 last year.
And what did he end up with?
Well, he was hurt for a lot of it. I think he was in the 50s, I think.
Right. Yeah, I think a 50-point year for Celebrini. I mean, I'd love to see him do that, but I don't have any, because I think some of it is so circumstantial that I don't know. But you look at all four of those guys, like Stankoven's the only one who's on a good team.
Yeah.
Surrounded by a bunch of elite players. I mean, you could make the argument like Mitchkov's going to probably have Konechny around him and Couturier around him and and Tippett and like some other pretty good players. So, but again, he's just a wild card to me. I need to see him play here in North America, and before I'm ready to really understand who and what he is.
Yeah. Daily Faceoff has Mitchkov on the right wing next to Morgan Frost and Owen Tippett.
So, yeah, it's early.
And Macklin is the first line center with Toffoli, and I don't remember who the right winger was. I can check really quick. It was Tyler Toffoli and Fabian Zetterlund.
So there you go. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. There'll be a lot. It's a big, interesting rookie class. There was a good one last year with Bedard and with Fantilli. Fantilli obviously got hurt. Bedard was hurt a little bit. Sorry. Faber, Carlson, he got hurt as well. So we'll see what happens, but it should be a fun year as far as the rookies go. It's way too early to be talking about it, but we are anyway, because Bleacher Report brought it up. They've been reposting a lot of our videos, so we obviously appreciate that. Jonny, we are recording this episode on August 6th. As we said in our last episode, we're all going to be away next week, so we did this one a week early. So between now and then, maybe Anthony DeAngelo signs somewhere, maybe other news drops. We're hoping for that. But ultimately, great episode. That was a great conversation with him. Yeah, I mean, we probably could have continued to talk to him for another 30 or 40 minutes. So we'll see what happens with him, and maybe we'll get him as a regular on our show. But that's all I got today. Vic, behind the scenes, good work. I know you're on a plane tomorrow heading overseas, so you'll have a great trip. Jonny, final word, and I will not have to stare at you for 2 weeks now.
I got nothing. Hopefully I have some life and dating updates for you when we get back in 2 weeks.
So far, it's been sad. The text that you've been sending us it's been a sad.
I've been having a blast, actually.
It's been it's been a fun but a lonely boy summer for our boy Jonny Laz. So hopefully,
did you just coin Lonely Boy Summer for me? I kind of like that.
I mean, that's what it's been. It's been a strikeout summer for you.
Yeah, just going to weddings by myself.
Friend zone summer by Jonny Laz.
Friend zone summer, we'll call it
so,
that.
All right. Well, look, good show today. Like we said, this show will drop. I'm pulling up my calendar just to put
the 14th.
Real dates. The 14th. We're recording on the 6th. It'll drop on the 14th. We look forward to hearing what people think, and we'll go from there. And we'll see everybody back the week of the 21st, and we'll get back to making sure our timeline is up to date at that point.
What's up, hockey fans? If you enjoyed that video, then you need to be hitting the subscribe button right here at Daily Faceoff. Exclusive interviews and analysis from our hockey insider Frank Saravalli, fantasy updates from Brock Sagan, and a daily live show at noon Eastern, Monday through Friday. You don't want to miss any of the fantastic content, so hit that subscribe button.